Hello, this is Frank Shines. I'm the executive producer of the upcoming 2024 documentary film, Running to Harvard, an Odyssey of Resilience and Unity. The purpose of this presentation is, first of all, to thank all of the donors, investors, and partners who have helped us so far in bringing this story to the public. The protagonist of the film, Dolphus, is the older sibling of my grandfather, Tandy Stroud. So Dolphus Stroud is my great uncle. And both Tandy and Dolphus, they competed quite extensively, both in the classroom and on the athletic field. And you'll hear more about that in the documentary. It's a true 1928 Olympic story that we think just might help to heal and inspire a nation. For those of you who perhaps need or are interested in accessing additional information on the documentary and seeing updates as they're posted, or perhaps even supporting us with $5 or $10 or even a nickel. We'll take anything we can get. Here's the QR code, and you can access that at any time. What I'll do is just quickly go through a few slides here just to give you all a little bit of background on the story and a little peek preview of what's to come. So here you can see Dolphus Stroud, a high school photo on the far left. And when he made it across from Colorado to Cambridge, you can see the route he took along the Lincoln Highway. And as he headed out on June 25th, you can see the stories that were bouncing around. There Baltimore, it was Galveston Daily News, it was the Chicago Daily News, places out in California and the Midwest, all covered his story. And of course, they talked about this Olympic candidate who's hiking to Harvard. Dolphus's story is here. And again, you can just pause this and look at this in more detail at your convenience. But again, a bit of a sneak peek into the filming of the documentary here. We'll talk about Dolphus, his 11 children that were born to my great-grandparents, Katie and Lulu. Dolphus was the third of those children born on Indian territory in September of 1907. That was before Oklahoma gained statehood. So it was literally the Creek part of the Indian territory. His mother, my great grandmother Lulu, was a Native American Creek Indian. So at any rate, Dolphus, his parents, fearful for the safety of their children, and then the need to make sure that they got a proper education in a non-segregated school system, moved to Colorado Springs. It was there that Dolphus attended Bristol Elementary, as did his siblings. He did exceptionally well in elementary school, graduated as a valedictorian of Palmer High School. Back then it was called Colorado Springs High School. Earned acceptance to Harvard University, but did not have the funds to attend and to travel there. Make a long story short, Dolphus, because of his prolific athleticism and work with a very important white high school coach that was progressive for his time and gave him a coaching regime, he was able to train by running up and down Pikes Peak, which is the highest summit area in the Colorado Springs area. And already you're talking about, many of you are familiar with Mile High. You know, Denver's known as Mile High because they're 5,000 feet. Well, the Air Force Academy where I grew up is 7,250 feet above sea level. And go up about another 7,000 feet to the top of Pikes Peak. It's about 14,000 feet or so. So by running up and down Pikes Peak, he got extremely fit and developed. Went on to win the Rocky Mountain Region Olympic Trials, which qualified him for the 1928 Olympic Games out at the American Olympic Trials out at a Harvard Stadium in a 5K race. He headed out on June 25th at 4 o'clock by foot, with hopes of being able to arrive within 12 days to attend and participate in the Olympic trials. He arrived there 6 hours before the start of the race. I didn't know a lot about this story. So in the documentary, you'll hear about my background, having, by some freak nature, well, I guess God and who knows all the other things that happen in the universe that all conspire to make for these unique types of experiences. But I ended up at Colorado Springs. And while at the academy, I received a phone call from a stranger who I later found out was my great aunt Lulu, of which Lulu Pollard Park is named after her, and all of her work is archived in the Colorado Springs Pioneers Museum here. That's when I first began to understand um, the background of my family. So the documentary, you'll hear some really interesting things that I discovered in the process as I went through and unearthed the history. You'll see the Strouds that came over from England on the left side, the Magees that ended up being who fought in the American Revolutionary War, and by doing so achieved freedman status. And then you'll see my DNA profile. And the important thing for me, it was as I did the research and pulled together all the information to see that there was congruence between my DNA profile, which there was. You'll see Ghana, which is where Katie's family is from. My father, Nigerian, British Irish from the Strouds here, and the Scandinavian. You'll see that my great grandmother's mother, Carrie Bolduc, French Canadian with Scandinavian background. You can see her picture, definitely Scandinavian, and her husband, John Magee. And so you can see the relationship there, German, Scandinavian. So, and of course, Native American here. So here is an iconic photo on the far left side of Dolphus, clad in all white suit, his father KD, mother Lulu. There is some confusion between the two Lulus. Mother Lulu, Lulu, and sister Lulu, Lu, space Lu. So when you search on the web, you'll see the two different Lulus. They both were very successful in their own rights. And so there is some confusion sometime between the two, the mother versus the sister, sister being Dolphus's sister, Candy's sister, my great aunt versus my great grandmother. Okay, so here's an image. Take a chance when you have if you have the time to look at this, you'll see a lot that happens from the point of June 19th, 1865. So when you hear of Juneteenth, this is why. Texas was not, well, let's say, did not get the information, did not share the information with the enslaved until 2 years later after Emancipation Proclamation. So this is the Stroud family plantation. They call it Pleasant Retreat. It was the big house where the Strouds, Katie Stroud, grew up, and as did many other Strouds that were enslaved there. And then Hagerman of the Hagerman Institute, and J.J. Hagerman, the great magnet, steel magnate and mining industry millionaire, and that's Eleanor right there, Eleanor Hagerman, holding one of my great aunts, great aunt Bobby. She was the youngest of all the Strouds. She was a musical prodigy and artist. So at any rate, you'll see many of the other individual Stroud family members. Jack Stroud, I had no idea when I was interested in the Apollo and flying and so forth, and what brought me into the Air Force, that this was probably, coming from the DNA of kind of the Jack Stroud and the Katie, where he became a scientist engineer. And he's a gentleman who wrote the formula with a 12-person team for the Apollo astronauts that were safely return them home from Earth. So all these things I just didn't know about my family. It was just intriguing and exciting. The Atlantic was one of my favorite magazines, the Atlantic Monthly, it was called back then. And my great aunt, Kimball Stroud Goffman, she wrote Black Pride in February of 1939. So just a really rich history in the relationship that the family had with the Gillette razor company investor, Henry Sachs. And Henry Sachs set up a foundation for our family that ultimately still exists today and has provided educational opportunities for children in Colorado and extended that around the world with the Sachs Foundation. Effie and Dolphus were the first recipients of that in 1931. And then, of course, you can see W.B. Du Bois, who sent us a letter, and he had correspondence quite frequently with Katie and Lulu. And finally, our amazing crew. Our actor will play the role of Dolphus in much of the B-roll footage and many of the historical scenes, standing next to my cousin, Dolphus's daughter, Juanita Stroud Martin, or Juanita Martin Stroud. I believe she goes by Juanita Stroud Martin. So there's Juanita, and then our photographer, historian, and assistant director, Mike Pock, here in the middle. Shots of our normal annual Independence Day that we hold. And this is on the previous Hagerman property, estate, that has been purchased by the family. And in tribute to the little baby that we saw earlier, Bobby Stroud, this is the Bobby's Place. It's an art and music pavilion executive retreat that my cousins Nicole and Ashley have set up. They allowed us to do some of the filming. You can see right here with Kai in the blue sweater. He is our cinematographer, and Ralph Michael Giordano, who is our executive director. So again, you see another photo here of my great aunt. I shouldn't say my great aunt, my cousin, Dolphus's daughter, Juanita. Okay, this is some of the film footage, some of the actual still film footage here as well. So you're getting a little bit of an insight in terms of what this is going to look like. And then you'll see the crew and all the work they're doing in terms of going out, conducting the research, identifying the locations, meeting with all the historians and academics and other people throughout the Colorado Springs area. This is the Colorado College here, this historic site that you can see. But again, our key players, Ralph Michael Giordano, our executive director, Mike Pock, our associate director, photographer and historian, Kai Hatchett, our cinematographer. So there's a little bit of the background on the story. Wanted to share that with you. And again, thank all of you investors, donors, partners that have been so instrumental in getting us this far. We're excited to bring Running to Harvard to all of you. And you can look us up on runningtoharvard.com, or you can just use the QR code showed there. Again, this is Frank Shines, executive producer of Running to Harvard. Thank you.